Alright, what I want to show today is how to take a head bolt that's been stripped out. It's very common on a Geo head bolt that the threads won't get lubed when it's assembled, especially at machine shops. Everybody wants to do this dry build. So when you can't get your 6-point on and it slips off, this is the top of a head bolt, and I've got a head bolt laying right here. Also on a step stool here so you get up here. So what I've done is I've drilled the center out of it, or the shank, and I'm going to show you how to do that. If you're just doing a head gasket and you have to do this, you're going to have to remove the oil pan and wash the head out with probably take a couple of quarts of diesel, maybe 2 or 3 of them, and pour through here and rinse all the metal shavings down the head port and into the pan, and then take the pan off and clean it out. There's probably other ways to do it, but that would work very well and probably be the least invasive. I start with this project with a 3 millimeter drill bit, and then I use a little I don't know what they call this stuff, but it looks like cotton candy. You put it on the drill bit to help it cut. For the life of me, I cannot remember what it's called. And you could center punch this bolt, but since I got the camera going, I think I'll just try it. I'm going in with no problem at all. I used to just build myself a pilot. Pull that out of there. A magnet would really help too. This motor's coming in for disassembly, so I'm not too worried about it, but you know, you could scavenge all that steel up with a magnet. And I only say that for like if you're doing a head gasket. This drill bit's a little short, so I'm going to pull it out of the gun a little bit. Here we go. You can see how we're progressing here. I only go about the depth of the head of the bolt. I'm going to go ahead and switch up to my next size drill bit, and that's a 6 millimeter. And if I do this correctly, it's going to sound like a gunshot when I pop the head of the bolt loose. Like I said, I use some of that stuff that looks like pink cotton candy. And then I'll make my next transition to a it's a 9mm bit. Cotton candy stuff in there. Could pull some more of that metal out of there. Since I'm going to rebuild this motor, I don't really care because I'm going to clean all the parts. But this is more for people that have blown head gaskets. They can't get these head bolts out because I see them ruining the heads with chisels and stuff, and people buying motors when they don't need to. Okay, here we go. Listen for this thing to pop. If it goes, it's just really loud noise. Ooh, bam, it scares the shit out of me every time. And that's just the tension that's on the head of the bolt. And there it is right there. Let's grab it out of there with the magnet. And voila, head bolt removed pretty painlessly. And like I said, if you had some magnets in there and stuff, you could clean this all up. But I would recommend, if you're doing a head, if you have to do it, if you got the head, and when I say head gaskets, Geos now are blow head gaskets. I mean, if you're putting a head on it, and you really should be putting a board block, putting a head with an old block, almost meaningless. But at any rate, that'll help you get it apart. And I gotta go through and recheck these two. I thought I had all the head bolts loose. Might have a couple more to fix. I already did another one on here. I hope that helps somebody out. So I 3-step drill it, and the last one, and if it's right over the center, you'll hear it pop when it releases the pressure off the head. Okay, now we're going to remove the head. I've already lifted the head bolts out. Always make sure you break the head loose on the lifting points. Never just pry on it or beat on it. And you'll see you have your 2 head bolts. And here's a trick. This is where it gets interesting. Those things, you couldn't get them to break loose with the 2-foot breaker bar. You drilled the heads off, they exploded when they came off. But it's the head of the bolt wasn't lubed. Look at this. You can take it out with your fingers. It's always the head of the bolt. And look, yep, that one too. It's also one of the reasons Geos don't have stretch bolts. You can always reuse the Geo head bolts unless somebody's replaced them with those terrible Velcro ones. If they have serrations on them right here, like 1 inch long, those are aftermarket ones, throw those away. But if you have factory ones that are just regular bolts, you can reuse those. And if you don't over torque them, they never fail. But you can see how it's important when you put the motor together to lube the head bolts and the threads. I like to put a little dab of oil or grease on the threads, something around the top, and generally what I do is I dip the thread into my little grease bucket, and as it pushes through, it leaves a little on the head surface, and when the head bolt hits it, it's got a little grease under it. Just how I do it. But that'll get you back to a nice clean or a place to work from, and then you're not damaging the block by prying, beating it up. The head's still in perfect condition. Hope it helps you.